creativity from inside the sphere?
That's up to people that are way more creative than me. That's why these guys. That's the stuff that these guys have to figure out. And the big question is, you know, how does this work? When I was at the Sphere watching the U2 show, I said this 100 times, but you realize that the Sphere is the star of the show. So our second biggest challenge, other than lighting, was how do you make the Sphere the star of the show, but not during the fights? The fights are the star. You know what I mean? So these are all little things that we had to figure out, and now we have to execute it on Saturday night. But if you're Mexican, it's a fucking Rocky movie for you, man. This is like you're going to come out of there, and if you're not, you're going to wish you were Mexican on Saturday night.
So what's the final? You said they're going to be worlds. What's the final world? Is that present day?
Starts at the beginning of time, ends in the future.
What's the future of Mexico look like?
You're going to find out on Saturday.
Think to your right? Then right.
Yep.
You always talk about being first and doing things that nobody else has done. This is something, obviously it's a one-on-one. But where do you go from here? I know you talked about Africa, talked about Spain, but do you have plans for 2025 of big things that not necessarily eclipse this, but maybe on par?
It's funny because I've been talking this whole week and the week before about if Tom Brady doesn't call me and ask me to go to U2, I would have not gone to the Sphere yet. I just wouldn't have. I don't have time, and I just would have never gone to any of these. The Eagles are coming after us. I will be at the Eagles. I will be at that concert. But I wouldn't have gone to this event. And then the whole thing that happened with MGM, it's like this was meant to happen. It was meant to happen. And I'm looking at NOCHE different now. This is going to be a flagpole event for us every year. And then Monday, literally as soon as this event is over, Monday we start thinking about what's next year and how do we make it different, how do we make it exciting. Do we do Texas, do we do Mexico, Arizona, and how do we make it different than it was this year. And then as far as next year, I mean, obviously, you know, I've been talking about Africa and Spain and other places that we haven't been yet, and that's a big focus for next year.
Stadium shows, I know you're not big on outdoor things, but stadium shows feels like a next logical step. But I know you're big on fan experience. Is that like the biggest hurdle to deal with a stadium show?
What's the question about
fan experience? Because the Sphere.
Yes, 100%.
Stadium, it feels it's not the same, right?
Yeah, I don't like. First of all, when I put on a live event on Saturdays, I want the best in-house experience people can possibly have. And I want the same experience on television. And I just don't understand why I would need to do a stadium when, for what? I can get more people in there, it doesn't interest me. What interests me is putting on the best live event. If you think about, people always talk about how fast the sport grew. The live event is part of the reason that the sport grew like this, you know? I'm not shitting on boxing, but a few years ago, I took my son to the Fury Wilder fight, right? And if you'd have told me I wouldn't take my son to a boxing match until he was 18 or 19 or however old he was, I'd have said, you're nuts. We literally left that event. I swear to God, my son said, I don't ever want to come to one of these again. It was completely disorganized. It was a shit show from the minute we walked in. And if all you've ever known is going to UFC events, you definitely notice the difference, right? I don't ever want any of our fans to have that experience on a Saturday night, whether they're in a bar, at home on TV, or the live event. But it's a fact. Nobody walks out to UFC and goes, I don't ever want to come to one of these again. So I don't need to do a stadium.
Speaking of boxing, Oscar De La Hoya, I know you think he's, sitting on Canelo by coming to the Sphere. I don't know if you know for sure if he's bought a ticket or not, but is there a part of you that's kind of pleased that he's coming to see what you guys are doing?
Well, I got that call today. He's coming with shit turkey. He's part of his ticket block. I knew he wasn't part of my ticket block. That's for damn sure. Oscar does things that are good for Oscar at the moment. I'm not shitting on Canelo. And Al Heyman, good for you. You went in and got me on the date. You know what I mean? I respect Al Heyman and I like him, and I respect Canelo. And he'll be right down the street from us. And this isn't an Al Heyman Canelo thing. versus Dana White. This is Dana White versus the MGM, okay? And I wish them all the best. I tell this story, I was just in Mexico. We're driving, Mexico City, we're driving to the arena. There's a playground on the side. Swing sets, monkey bar, slides, and a fucking boxing ring. A boxing ring in the middle of the playground. There are lots of people from Mexico that are huge boxing fans. Canelo is one of the greatest to ever do it. He's a legend and a hero in Mexico, and people will go watch him fight. What we're doing down the street is completely different than what they're doing, and ours is sold out in the biggest gate ever too, so it's good for all of us.
Last question for me. From the day that you were at the YouTube concert to now, what have you been able to put together for the Sphere? Has it truly exceeded your expectations, or is it what you envisioned? How would you quantify that?
It's exactly what I had hoped for. I'm excited about it, I'm proud of it, and I can't wait to play it. And we're going to find out at the end. You don't know until you do it. We've never done it. It's like the budget. You don't know the fucking budget until you do it. And then you find out. And we're going to find out on Saturday. You know, and I look forward to hearing the, you know, what everybody thought. The media, the fans, everybody. So I'm excited about it. I'm in a good place.
Dana?
Yep.
Is Cain Velasquez going to be in attendance on Saturday?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And then, if Sean O'Malley goes out there and knocks Merab out, is there a chance for him to just leapfrog and become the biggest star in the UFC? Because everybody will be watching this show. It will be viral. Everybody in the world is going to watch this. Is there a chance that he crosses over and becomes that guy?
Yeah, you know, listen, he's right there anyway. These are when you talk about Conor's personality and all the things that make Conor McGregor, right? The one thing that Conor McGregor always did was he delivered on the big fights. When the big fights happened, everybody said he couldn't wrestle, everybody said he couldn't do this and that. He went out and delivered every single time. And to become a big star like that, I mean, I remember having conversations with Ioli way back in the day, doing fights in Chicago and stuff like that with Anderson Silva. And they would keep asking me, what do you got to do to make people care about Anderson Silva? You know what Anderson Silva did to make people care about him? He kept winning. You know what I mean? In this sport, when you have what Sean O'Malley has, and you can go out and win the big fights, and O'Malley's a smart kid like Conor too. He gets it. I don't know if you saw him on First Take today, but he gets it.
And finally for me, there's a lot of Bilal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov going back and forth about the fight has been offered. The fight was offered in Utah. The fight was offered for, I think that's sort of already. Has that fight been offered to either of them?
Is what? Who?
Bilal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Has that fight been offered? Was that fight offered for Utah?
I don't even remember. Does it matter? You know what I'm focused on?
Saturday.
Thank you.
And over here to the so obviously this weekend, big weekend, not just for you guys and for the Mexican population, but for combat fans in general. We obviously know there's always a set of people that will watch MMA no matter what, and vice versa, boxing no matter what. But do you have a message for those that are maybe looking to watch something this weekend with all the events going on, and why they should watch NOCHE UFC?
Why should they? Because I invested $20 million in it. That's why. Listen, no. I don't have a message for anybody on why they should watch UFC NOCHE. You either want to do it or you don't. No.
Hi, Dan, I want to ask you about your Mount Rushmore of mixed martial artists. Yes, I can ask you about it, and that always creates a bunch of debate. But I was wondering what your methodology was, because people are always saying, well, this guy was a better fighter than this person.
I agree. That's why if you ask me, I obviously have different, you know, if you look at Ronda Rousey, which I'm sure everybody goes crazy, yeah, Ronda Rousey. Women aren't fighting here. The knockout that happened last weekend doesn't happen without Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey opened the door for all women and became a huge superstar for us, and the biggest superstar in the history of female fighting. Right out as far as the gates, pay-per-views, attention, all of it. Nobody was bigger than Ronda. She started it all. Conor McGregor took this whole sport to another level when he became not only the biggest star in the sport, but one of the biggest stars in all of sports. You had NFL and NBA and soccer players mimicking Conor McGregor during the games. If you guys want to get into the John Jones shit, we can get into that. But yeah, I'm obviously going to have a different criteria when you ask me who I think are, because of things that I know that happened inside the business and how it changed the game.
So for you, it's like a measure of the growth, like what contributed to the growth of the sport.
If you walk up to me and you say, it's no different than if I walk up to any of you, who's your Mount Rushmore? I mean, this is something you'd have to really sit down and look at stats and break things down. There's so many great fighters that have lived. You know, you could put Forrest Griffin in the Mount Rushmore. Where are we right now without Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner? You know, so when you talk about that type of stuff, to me, it's different than just who's the greatest fighter of all time, or in each weight class. And then my other one was Georges St. Pierre. At that time, in the, you know, in the evolution of this company, right? When you think back, anybody who was around, a lot of people weren't around then, but the people who were, when you went up to Canada with Georges St. Pierre, I'll never forget the time that we were up there. I literally got stuck on a corner. I'm not kidding you, thousands of people. That's when I was tweeting tickets. Remember those days? When I had video blogs and was tweeting tickets? We literally almost got killed up there one day. And by killed, I mean like trampled by people looking for tickets. How big that was up there at that time was absolutely insane. It was all Georges St. Pierre.
Yeah, you mentioned that the stadium shows that was one of the times.
100%. That too. You're absolutely right.
And going back to Jones, I haven't been here with you to spar about John Jones, but I don't really want to spar with you. What I'm wondering about is, you know, I was at John Jones' first fight in Minnesota, and do you feel like the people that, this sport has grown so much, and there's so many new fans, but do you feel like unless you were there in that moment, to know that in the span of whatever it was, 16 months, him beating Shogun, Machida, Rashad Evans, like if you didn't understand what those guys were at that time, do you not really get why John Jones is the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point. But numbers don't lie, and what this guy has done, and what he's accomplished, and what he's achieved. And like I said, it's not like you know, John and I have had the best relationship. And you know, when you talk about guys who help elevate the company and the sport and everything else, you can't deny that John Jones is the greatest of all time. Never going to be.
What percentage of fans, sort of cut you off, have become fans in the last 4 years? Because I mean, if John Jones has fought once in the last 4 years, people don't really get it. Is what I think. So
I can't remember what his, but one of the key executives of the Yankees was here tonight, and came back and was talking to me in my room, and he watches everything, fight nights, pay-per-views, Contender series, The Ultimate Fighter. Guess when he became a massive fan and became obsessed with the UFC?
I'm guessing during COVID?
During COVID. Our fan base grew 69% during COVID. So yes, what you're saying does make sense.
And finally, in terms of Saturday at the Sphere, do you think you're going to have a chance to really kind of sit there and enjoy the show and soak it in, or are you going to be really obsessing over production like you often do?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to watch this show 52,000 times from tomorrow till Saturday. So yeah, what's going on in the venue will not. And plus, there's not. So normally, you see the red phone. You see me get on the red phone. If I'm on the red phone, I'm not happy about something. I'm telling them that I didn't like this or I don't like that. And I want you to do this. There's no point in putting the fucking red phone in there on Saturday. It's just like what I need to do Saturday is stay the fuck out of everybody's way and let them focus on what they need to do that night, because this is something that is so technically difficult to pull off. Just let it rip. That's it.
Hey Dana, besides the Contender series being the biggest thing in America going on tonight your friend Donald Trump is having his debate. Have you had a chance to watch any of it? Or?
No, I haven't seen it, but I'll tell you this. He called me an hour before the debate. I talked to him when I was coming here right when we got off the plane. I was in LA today. And, you know, I said, first of all, it's the second time he has to debate, right? He already did a debate. They didn't like how the debate turned out. So they want to kick that guy out. He's fit to run, yet he's still the president of the United States. Now they're bringing in somebody who wasn't elected to actually be in there, and they'll only do it on ABC.